Being 7 o'clock, I'd like to call to order the Somersworth Historic District meeting for Wednesday, February 26, 2025. And first order of business is approval of the minutes of the January 22nd meeting. Do we have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to accept as written.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? No. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Second on the agenda is projects of minimal impact. Ms.
Yes,
Mears?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's actually no minimal impact report this month.
All right. We'll move on to comments by visitors. If we have any comments by the general public concerning items not on the agenda, this would be the opportunity for that. If you're on the agenda, we'll have you up in a moment. Seeing none, we'll move to old business. Do we have any old business before the commission? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. First order is Meredith Peroto is seeking a certificate of appropriateness to install signage on a property located at 156 High Street in the residential business with historic overlay district, assessors map 10, lot 163, HDC case number 04-2025. Please approach. And if you don't mind, just state your name and address for the record.
My name and...
Name and, yeah, I guess we don't need an address for this only.
Hi, my name is Meredith. I'm the owner of Soulshine tie-dye and screen printing, and also Bulldog Sign, to be located at 156 High Street.
All right, and I might have skipped over Ms. Mears for just a little bit of history on this.
Yeah, so the applicant is proposing to install 4 wall signs. The proposed materials for the sign is 1 to 3 aluminum composite. These signs are currently affixed to 90 Market Street and are proposed to be relocated. The 4th sign is constructed with HDU high-density foam. There is the standards for review, and the chair did point out that signs shall fit within the existing features of the facade on most building lintels or bands of decorative moldings and create natural frames for the sign. So we did reach out to the applicant and let her know that the placement is really important on the building. So that's it. This is ready for review.
All right. We'll let you speak to this if you have anything you want to add to it, and then we'll open up the questions.
So I really strongly like the way that I submitted the sign permit. I like the layout that I submitted to you guys. As a design and art-based company, I went back and looked at some different layouts of how we could fit either above or below this small brick line that is in question. And honestly, I didn't think that any of the layouts looked very good. I think that it rides either way too high or way too low. There's several other businesses in the historic district that do have signs that overlay their facades slightly, including Breakfast Station 319, Folded Diner across the street on High, and the Chromatic Dragons down on Market Street as well. And I have pictures of those if anybody's interested in seeing them.
All right. Well,
But we're talking about a piece of facade that comes off the building that's probably like 1/4 of an inch thick. So it's not really, it's not a strong overlay, if you will.
have any, Ms. Berry?
That was actually going to be one of my questions. How much that projected out, and how does that affect the hanging of the sign if it does overlay that? Because if everywhere else is flush, are you like building it out a little bit so it doesn't I'm just worried about wonkiness, right? Like if you have that little bit of a
Yeah,
bump.
no, it'll sit out just slightly so that it's all flush. You know, if it has to come out 1/4 of an inch,
So like the
out.
hanger or however
Yeah,
you're
like a
securing it
mounting
will
of
come
some
out.
sort, so that it appears as though it's flush, because the brick lay it's really like 1/4 of an inch. And honestly, I feel like it's more apparent because of the way that it's painted. It's painted as a strong line across the front there, but the building is also scheduled to be painted next summer, and who knows if they're even going to paint it that way. I mean, that'll really be up to you guys and the owner of the building. But
Okay. One other kind of comment. So understanding, and I just want for clarity, we already approved at least, I remember 3 of these signs.
You did.
Correct. So the only real new one is the Bulldog sign, correct?
Yes. And
So,
so it was my understanding that I didn't even really need to come here to ask you guys because you had already approved those signs at 90 Market. I may be wrong about that, but that was my understanding. But I just wanted to do the right thing and discuss everything we were doing with you with the additional sign
so
before we move forward.
I'm kind of with you with clarity in mind for myself. These have gone through us, that's okay, but it would maybe the placement on the building, I think, is more for the 3, except for the Bulldog, that being a new sign. This is where we're different. Is my understanding of that for procedure-wise correct?
Yeah, normally we have purview over the placement and so on, how they're hung.
Right, but because those 3 signs in my head, we've already approved them, the material, the design, all of that when she was over by the train station. So that would not need
Yeah.
reapproval. It would just be the placement. Am I correct?
This is true, but it is a different building. So we've approved the signs on a different building, if that's what you're asking, yes.
I don't know that what you're saying is quite different, but I do think it is because, like, if somebody had a wood sign we approved, we said, yes, that fits within our parameters. Just because they move buildings, that sign is still approved, but the placement of the sign and where it is located.
It's now on a
approval.
different building, so, yes, we may have approved the sign previously, but now we're looking at a different building. So
But according to the city, because the signs were already approved, the signs are approved. So we are truly looking at just the placement and the additional sign, from what I understand from talking to Cindy.
That's why I'm just, for clarity purposes, on that.
And I would agree. I'm not saying that, the appearance of the sign is in question, but yeah, certainly the placement is what we're more concerned with in this situation. Mr. Mativia?
Just to add to this conversation, the other 3 signs, material, size, and style have already correctly been vetted and approved. And certainly we would need to do the same with the sign, with the Bulldog sign, and then of course the location. An example would be if the Soul Shine sign wanted to be stuck on a suspended sign somewhere on a post, that doesn't necessarily mean the sign's approved. The material is, but the location is not. So that's what we're here, just really to look at the Bulldog sign, in my opinion, and then the material's already been vetted, so that's.
And I just have one quick follow-up comment. I actually have no problem with where the proposed placement of the 3 signs are, actually all 4, because to me, they're following the openings of the building, and I do not disagree with the banding. I don't have an issue where these are located, but I'm curious how others feel.
Mr. Mativia?
Correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've discussed this building eons, for multiple times over years of this very sought topic and subject of location on the banding. That band was brought up, I mean, some of these applications go back to 2008, 9, I'm seeing sign applications and other things before. And previous approvals were all mentioned that shall not project over over that band. That said, that was probably the feeling of the board at that time. There's been multiple examples of this exact same style of and sizes of signage, and there were conditions that were, I can look at the 2018 sign. The sign shall be hung above or below the lintel. In 2009, it's similar, and it goes on. The list is extensive. I'm not opposed to maybe changing that run of conditions, but is history of where those were to be located on that building in past decisions. That's all I wanted to point out.
Ms. Berry?
And I'm with Tim. I remember we've had multiple applicants come before us for this, and Again, I'm a little rusty on some of it. I believe that those were longer signs where I think we had different reasonings for different things. Again, I'm kind of with Tim. I'm okay with breaking that tradition just because of it following the openings, the fenestration openings, the door openings. But again, I'm just curious how others feel. It's a detail, but it's not, in my opinion, hiding that full detail. It's still present.
Ms. Newman?
Yeah, I think that the Soul Shine sign, because it's centered on the end building where there's a raised cornice above it, I'm okay with that, crossing that sign, and the dog sign as well. I actually think that placement is great. Like, it looks really good. You've aligned the red part of the arch with the bottom of that detail, and that's perfect. And centered over the openings is great. My only hesitation here is the number of signs. Like, I wonder if have you considered using a window decal for the middle two?
Using a window decal is a possibility. Because I already had the signs and I had them at my existing location, it's at this point sort of about maintaining my identity. You may even find me back here, in a couple months trying to switch the Soul Shine sign out for the high density foam as the Bulldog sign. But at this point, it's really just about getting those same signs back up on my building so that people know that I haven't gone out of business, that I've simply just moved a block up. Because right now, people are stopping me in the grocery store and asking me if I've gone out of business. And that makes me really upset because I worked really hard to establish myself in this town. And so that's why I'm trying to just put those same exact signs back up so people know that it's me. Just a little bit up the street. I'm not opposed to it. I just was looking to reuse what I had already purchased.
Sure.
Mr. Matavia?
Was this application already passed through, or at least give a cursory review to the sign committee for the square footage?
Yes, it was.
So it complies with that minimum or maximum?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Mr. Poole and then Ms. Schoen afterwards.
Thank you. I think Laura's right. I think the last time we had a little problem with the placement of the sign and the size of it. But I really think these ones here look really nice. They're centered. If we keep them centered, I think that would work fine. So.
Ms. Schoen?
So, the gathering place is right next door. Where's their sign in relation to?
So it's funny, there are actually no signs on the building. And when I spoke to my neighbors about why they don't have signs on the building, because it was a big concern of mine from the very beginning in renting the property, is there any restriction on signs? Because I noticed that nobody has any, but the real reason nobody has any is because they don't want to come and see you guys. That's
On an awning or on the glass?
yeah, she has, I believe, on the glass, or I think she may have it across her awning as well. And then the New England Pickers, which are on the far end, they have a standalone sign
Yep.
that's behind the Somersworth city sign, and then they just have decals on their windows. But again, I asked her why she didn't have a sign, same reason. I said you guys weren't that bad.
She actually came, she came before us and we approved her sign.
Signs are expensive. Even if you are part owner of a sign company, it's still expensive.
I'll just weigh in and say, I know historically we have chosen to have them either above or below that detail that runs across a building. I guess hearing others, they seem to be less concerned with it this time. And whereas there are no other signs in that area, I guess I wouldn't be opposed to this either. I think it looks better if the building's uniform, if there was already signs above the lintel existing.
Yeah.
I would.
And if there
be
was already
more of the
signs
opinion
like
that
that
we should-
across the building, I think because again, I'm an artist, so I looked at it from an art standpoint. I took the signs on the computer, I moved them all over the front of the building and what I thought looked visually the most pleasing. And if there were other signs, then I probably would have brought their alignment into it all. Because my eyeballs, I can't. If it's just a little bit, it drives me
So,
crazy.
I guess that's where I'd weigh in on it.
Yeah.
again, these seem to look nice the way they are set up there, almost splitting the difference on that, that detail that runs across there. So, you know, I guess maybe if we get other businesses that come up with a sign, maybe we'll ask them to put them in the middle now, just to keep it uniform. Possible. I could potentially see that. But anyways, Miss Barry?
Quick question on the bulldog sign, because it is a different material. I think it's something we've approved in the past. I just want to make sure that I understand it says high density, but I just want to make sure it's a heavy weighted. The paint you're proposing is not going to be like a shiny where it looks plasticky. It's going to be more like what's in line with the other three, correct?
Yes, yep. No, and I remember that from last time, my approval for the signs originally was based on them being matte and not shiny. That was a big thing, so we've discussed that already. So no, they will not be shiny.
Okay. That was it.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Mativier, and then
I'd motion to approve as presented.
all right. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes 7-0. So you are approved.
We're happy you're still in town.
Thank you so much.
Back in town, we're not that bad.
I love this town, I really do. You guys have been great to us.
estate office in that spot?
What's that?
Is there a real estate office in that?
I'm not sure. The only thing I know that was there last was another designer, but he seemed to be closed to the public. He had vinyl decals on his door that said temporarily closed to the public, but they were there the entire time he was there. And I always felt like that was kind of unfriendly. So I'm not sure. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other new business before the commission? Seeing none, we'll move on to workshop business. Do we have any workshop?
Yes, we did have a workshop last week. Thursday. I was going to say it was Wednesday or Thursday, but I believe it was Thursday. So we have a new plaque mock-up. I found out very fast that I should not be sanding something after I painted multiple layers of black spray paint because I got a little zealous with the sander. I started kind of digging into the engraving a little bit. So I have gone back to the school and asked a couple of questions that we had around me being overzealous. Can we make them a little deeper in case we run into that problem? Also, can we use painter's tape when they're carving it? I'm waiting for a response back. Again, it's only been a few days, not that long for them to think about this, get back to me. But I'm hopeful as soon as I have responses back, I will hopefully call another workshop meeting to get this more finalized and off to the races so people can actually apply to have these plaques.
Do you think we could maybe ask advice of a sign maker?
If they're willing. We're working on a process to have historic plaques put in the district where people would submit applications with the research of the house to have the original name or date of the house on this plaque. It's a carved composite PVC.
It's a CNC routed lettering in a composite signboard. We wanted to see the relief to be dark. So her attempt was to paint the entire sign and then sand off the surface, which seemed to be troublesome.
It worked to a point.
And our question would be, is there something that you can cover over the blank before the CNC is cut, so when you paint it, you're only painting the letters?
You put a paint mask down.
There you go.
Okay. Because, like I said, I did a little research and I found painter's tape, but not knowing if that would work in that. So you called it a paint mask?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a special mask for paint. It's low tack, so it won't mess up your finish.
Okay.
We'll talk later.
Yes.
Yeah, because I've made, for the last 7 years, I've done all the Chinberg signs and everything. 45 Market Street Bakery, when that was there, I made that one.
Okay. Good info for everybody to have. Yes. All right. But I have that noted, paint mask, so I can look that up. Thank you. But yeah, so basically, again, got a little happy with the spray paint. It gave it a little bit of a gray tinge that I still wasn't able to get out just because it was a little bit more porous than we thought it was going to be, that material. But
The
I think it came out
discoloration,
well.
actually, I wasn't
Yeah.
not disliking. It looked okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we stand, that I'm just waiting back from some guidance from the school of how many applications can they take at a time? Do they want them piecemeal or in bulk? When is a drop dead date for them to have applications in before they break for the summer to produce these, those kind of questions. So we're just waiting for a response.
Anything else? Do you have any motions then?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second?
That was easy.
Everybody in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Motion passes. We're adjourned.